So today we're talking about how companies want bold. They say they want bold. They say they want innovation because we all want that. But are they willing to do the things to keep bold people? So here's the reality. We've all seen it. We all know that everyone says we want to be able to challenge everything. We want people who speak up here until you do. And then they mad about it. So it happens all the time. If you're in learning development, if you're an executive, your culture, your strategy, this may be very familiar to you. And the biggest thing that happens is we are fighting, I guess, the competition we're really after here is the status quo. The status quo is the biggest thing keeping us stuck. And often it's because people are afraid. So there's three reasons in my experience after spending 20 years plus leading product teams, marketing teams, comms teams in tech and doing comedy work. And I can tell you three biggest reasons that people do not take risks. One, the status quo is rewarded, and a lot of leaders don't realize that that's happening. Two, it's scary. Change is really, really scary, and we don't make it easy for people. And the third and most important reason is that most people don't feel supported to take a risk and fail. What happens then? Because people can take risks. That's not the issue. The real concern is what happens after the bold risk. There it is. And also, a lot of companies are really concerned about the status quo being maintained because anybody who challenges it, that's destabilizing. So the irony is everybody wants disruption, but they don't want to be disrupted. So the message to employees is, hey, we want you, but then come here and don't rock the boat. It doesn't work. And so your boldest people end up leaving. We've all been there. And it's tough because nothing good is going to happen if they don't feel safe to do it. Now, recently, and I've seen this many times before because, again, I came out of an industry that was built on disruption and product innovation. And I've never seen the pace of change in all the years I was in tech. I never saw anything like what we're seeing with AI. But I see it everywhere. I see it in companies. I see it on a board I was on recently. Same thing. We all want bold people. We want people to speak up. They don't. They don't. They wanted the status quo. And again, it's all too common. So this is not about any particular organization or issue. It's just everywhere. So I have a lot of frameworks. This is not a framework. This newsletter today is really about three things I want us to think about. If you're a leader of a team in this situation, there's three things I think to consider. The first is how do you know you're in an organization that is giving you a little bit of lip service around bold? And their intent may be good. I don't doubt most intent, but there's usually obstacles in the way. Here's how you know. If you really want to know if there's psychological safety in an organization, try busting the status quo. Try taking the myth of the origin story and suggesting updates. Try busting the we don't do it that way. Try that because when you go to the heart of it and you try to make a substantial change on that, that's where you get the most resistance on the things that are considered the sacred cows. One, that's huge. Number two is that you can't have growth and comfort. They don't coexist well. So remember that it can be scary. Now it's normal. It's normal to have discomfort when you're growing. Everybody knows that. You're going to feel weird about it. And your job as a leader is to create a place where, okay, this is normal. These are normal growing pains. You should never feel unsafe. And that's the thing. People will go and take risks if they feel safe. But the third thing I want you to consider, and this one is so important, I've seen it so many places, is that most people uh, don't are in that middle. They're not loud, they're not difficult, they don't leave. They're in the quiet quitting middle. They quiet quit on you. Some people are engaged, some people leave, but that middle, that is the biggest signal that most leaders ignore. What is happening with your middle? Because if most employees are disengaging and quiet quitting, they are the signal you need to pay attention. You have got to listen to that. If that's happening more and more, that people who used to perform have stopped performing in the way they used to, if they were engaged at one point and then they stopped. That is a really loud signal. And I think it is one that leaders just don't track and pay attention to. You need to. Because if a former performer just stops and disengages, something's going on. Maybe they spoke up and got shut down. They spoke up and got sidelined. They touched a sacred cow. And boy, did they hit on something and nobody liked it. So understand something probably changed because they are not feeling psychologically safe. So check that out. Look, there's ways to change it. And this is where humor and improv become important. Again, this is not about, ha 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 entertainment. This is where humor and improv create transformational change because I've never seen a space transform quickly if it didn't have humor and improv and people being able to make mistakes, laugh, reframe. It says it's okay, it's safe here to make mistakes, it's safe to explore, it's safe to speak up. These kinds of signals are really important. And sometimes teams lack the skills to do it or the mindset. And improv can be very helpful because I joke that it's sort of a spinal tap 11. It goes to 11 because in my experience, it's roughly between 10 and 12 minutes, about 11 minutes. What happens is when you start introducing improv into a group and improv thinking, people start listening differently. They start speaking differently. They start yes-anding each other, even when every instinct in their body is saying yes, but they start rewiring. And in real time, they start adapting and adjusting and making changes. And it can happen really quickly. And that's the thing. There is a way. There is a way. So if any of these things are happening in your organization, there is a way to change that. But it's not a matter of sugarcoating and cosmetic. It's about structural values and mindset changes and about behavior changes. And sometimes your team and your culture just need that injection. They need that boost because we all want bold people until bold people actually do something. And then if there's resistance and people stop, you have such a huge problem. It is fixable, everybody. So that's this week's newsletter. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what your experience